Good. Call this regular session of the Red Oak City Council to order this Monday, May 19th, 2025, 5:30 PM here at the Red Oak Fire Station located at 1904 North Broadway. Just a reminder that this meeting is open to the public and it is being recorded. We do ask that you silence your phones, and if you need to take a call, that you exit to the back. And we have a nice agenda today, so. Invocation by Pastor Alan Dean with Covenant Church. Pastor, please lead us in the prayer.
Yeah, let's pray together. Lord God, we thank you for your sovereign providence over all things. We thank you for the gift of order and of those that you put in leadership, nationwide, statewide, and citywide. And so I pray for these leaders and I pray for our community that the things that are said and done would be beneficial to all involved and that they would be for your glory and honor. So give them wisdom and discernment as they make decisions concerning our community. And I pray your blessings upon all of Montgomery County and the city of Red Oak. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. John, would you lead us in the pledge?
It's over here.
Oops, then we moved it.
That way for it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Great. Roll call, Susie.
Bradley,
Here.
Bill,
Here.
right off,
Here.
Isaac,
Right.
Hebring.
Here.
Number 5, approval of the agenda. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Bradley and Freda. Roll call.
Bill,
Yes.
right off,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebring,
Yes.
Bradley. Yes.
We have a treat. We're going to do a proclamation, but first I know that Tom Honeyman would like to share some information about Al Hayes, and then I will do a proclamation, and then if we have time for a story or so, we can do that.
Do you have any stories?
I could probably make one.
Okay.
Make one up. All right. So this is Tom Honeyman.
Well, it's Honeyman. They all came from a little town in Scotland near Edinburgh. So I've been called a lot worse though. I want to wish you good evening, Madam Mayor and the distinguished Red Oak City Council. Tonight, I want to tell you a story about a national treasure that lives within your city. You may not have been aware of this. Some of you are aware of it, but I feel like it needs to be spread around the city and the county and the state and the nation. Man's name is Mr. Alvin D. Hayes. Scouts and Raiders were the Navy's first special warfare commandos formed in 1942. These highly trained officers and enlisted boat crews conducted pre-assault recons of beaches and hostile islands. They mapped uncharted lagoons and blew holes in reefs so the assault force could access and invade the island by sea. After their secret night missions, they directed the assault troops on the day of the assault. They served in North Africa, Italy, and the European theater, and also in the Pacific Island Campaign and guerrilla operations later in China. Over 1,200 men were trained from 1942 to the war's end, September of 1945. Montgomery County and Red Oak citizen Alvin D. Hayes was not only one of these men, he is the last one. Al was graduate from Strand High School. If you don't know where Strand is, it's a ghost town south of Malvern. It's no longer there. May of 1944. However, Al had already enlisted in 1943 in the United States Navy. His father, an Army World War I veteran, said that he and Al's mom would sign the consent so Al could enlist in the military on one condition: he could not join the Army. So Al's father Bryce was left for dead in a deadly mustard gas conflict in World War I. If it had not been for an observant corpsman noticing that Bryce was still breathing, he would have gone into the mass grave instead of to recovery in the hospital. After graduation, Al was sent to Great Lakes, Illinois with a V6 enlistment, which carries more education and a 6-month enlistment extension. After 6 weeks of training at Naval Service Training Command, Al was selected as one of the 24 from the 240 graduates and sent to Little Creek, Virginia for quote unquote further training. The training would later be recognized as the Navy's Scouts and Raiders. Their motto was and is, we led the way. Scouts and Raiders were the grandfather of the present day United States Navy SEALs. Al would later discover that as one of the select 24, his stature, and the fact that he was a farm boy was a big part of the selection. They wanted men less than 130 pounds and no taller than 5'8", a similar size to the Japanese soldier. They were then sent near Fort Pierce, Florida, to an island about 1 mile off the coast, presently north of Palm Beach, Florida. There were no accommodations at all. They pitched their tents so close to the water that at high tide, they found themselves floating in the tent with their gear. They trained 20 to 24 hours a day. They had strenuous physical training, first aid training, classroom work to memorize silhouettes of planes, ships, weather, and clouds. Their ability to remember details was a large part of their job. There would be no paper or cell phones to record the details of their missions, only their memory. After they finished their hurried training, there was no ceremony, no graduation, just another train ride to Providence, Rhode Island, to where they were introduced to their new ship, the USS Dauphine, APA 97. Designed by the Navy, the Dauphine was an amphibious attack vessel. Made to transport troops and equipment to hostile shores and carried their own landing craft, 33 Higgins boats. Then Al and his crew were headed for the Pacific Theater via the Panama Canal, then a temporary stop in Pearl, on to New Guinea, and then to the Marshall Islands. From there to Batangas, southeast of Vietnam, and finally they would be asked to use all this training and preparations on missions. As the missions were ordered by command, Al and his other scouts would blacken their bodies and dress. No wetsuits at the time. They would top the deck and pray with the chaplain. And then they would always recite the 23rd Psalm. Then the Higgins boat would take them to within 5 or 6 miles of the designated enemy island. And I didn't know till the other day, Al said it just depended on whether the wind was in your face or if it was in your stern, because he said the Japanese had very good hearing. And if it was blowing into the island, it would be 5 or 6 miles out because they could hear the motors. So that's halfway to Emerson, that he's away from where he's gonna get. Then the scouts would land their rubber raft on the island and scout details of the land and lagoon. Al would rise to 7 major invasions, from Peleliu, Kwajalein to Okinawa and Luzon in the Philippine campaign. Following the Okinawa invasion, the next expected campaign was to invade Japan. His boat crew was always in the first action assault wave because they'd already been there. He explained that to me. They had already been to the island, so they were going to take the first 28 to 30 Marines or Army to the island. Scouts and Raiders were ordered to measure and report their findings back on their mothership from memory. Their biggest fear was to be captured by the Japanese. These were top secret missions, and the scouts' findings were classified as top secret for years after the war. Les, his second son, told me that Rusty, his wife, and the kids never knew what Al did until about 15 years ago, when those secrets were released. My father, W. Lee Honeyman, and Al were good friends, and they did things in the same water in the Pacific at the same time, but they had different jobs and they never spoke of it, even though they lived, 15 miles apart? President Truman ended the war by dropping atomic bombs on Japan in September of 45. The USS Dauphine was the fourth ship to enter Pearl Harbor, Tokyo Bay, behind the battleship the USS Missouri, and was considered one of the elite ships of the convoy. After the surrender proceedings, General Douglas MacArthur gave the order, scouts and raiders, change into combat gear and man your boats, lower and secure all Japanese flags in Tokyo Bay. Each scout was allowed to keep one flag for themselves. Al still has his. After the surrender as a combat serviceman, Al was sent home. He left the military May 23rd, 1946, as part of the V6 plan, 6 months after the end of the war. Al came back to Mills County, Iowa at the ripe old age of 19, probably a little more mature than his friends who had not gone into the service. He worked for his dad, Bryce, on the farm south of Malvern with his brother, Bill. He considered rejoining the Navy at one time because civilian life seemed a little slow until he met the love of his life, his wife, Rusty. The rest is history. They moved to near Climax in West Township, bought a farm, raised 4 kids, became a leader in your community, and he is still here today. In my mind and perception, Al Hayes is truly an American hero, both for the state, county, and city, and the nation. It is fitting and proper for this elected board representing the citizens of Red Oak City, Iowa, to recognize the unselfish service that Al has given all through his life to his community and to his nation. I ask you to consider a proclamation from the city to Alvin D. Hayes to that effect. Thank you. Al Hayes will be 99 on May 23rd, 2025. He received his Navy SEALs Trident, which Brian will explain to you, in 2016. There were 10 left in 2016. If you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, Alvin D. Hayes.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. So with that, it is my privilege and honor to provide this proclamation honoring Alvin D. Hayes and declaring May 23rd, 2025 as Alvin D. Hayes Day. Whereas Alvin D. Hayes, a proud and courageous World War II veteran, served honorably as a member of the United States Navy's elite Scouts and Raiders, one of the earliest special operations unit whose mission laid the foundation for today's Navy SEALs. And whereas during his service, Alvin demonstrated exceptional bravery, resilience, and dedication to the country, performing in 7 major covert reconnaissance missions in the South Pacific that were critical to Allied success in the war. And whereas following his military service, Alvin returned home and devoted his life to farming in Montgomery County, contributing selflessly through public service, volunteerism, mentorship, and civic leadership. And whereas following his military service, Alvin returned home and devoted his life to farming in Montgomery County, contributing selflessly through public service. I just read that, sorry about that. Whereas Al has become a respected and beloved member of the Red Oak community, embodying the values of honor, patriotism, and lifelong service, and inspiring generations through his remarkable legacy. Whereas Alvin D. Hayes celebrates his 99th birthday on May 23rd, 2025, it is fitting and proper to recognize his extraordinary life, distinguished military record, and lasting impact on our city, county, and country. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Shauna Silvius, and the Red Oak City Council, including former servicemen Brian Bills and John Heitzik, and Sharon Bradley, Tim Fredoff, and Adam Heatbrink, do hereby proclaim May 23rd, 2025 as Alvin D. Hayes Day in Red Oak, Montgomery County, Iowa, and I urge all citizens to join in recognizing and honoring the life and service of Al, a true American hero. In witness, therefore, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the city of Red Oak, Iowa, to be affixed on this 19th day of May, 2025. Also, what a birthday present to get to come home on May 23rd. So I have a proclamation here with the Red Oak seal, and it has been signed. It's not attached to this, but I thought it would protect it. So I would like to present, and I would like to get a picture with the entire council, with Al, if you wouldn't mind, and staff. Please, like over here by the flags,
flag, yep.
maybe?
Let's just have the call.
Just the council, okay? Is this?
So I go over there by the flag.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your flag. Flag.
Figure we can stand.
Wireless.
Tight up, yeah.
Careful of the cord.
Al, it is my honor.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Very awesome. So here's your proclamation, our little seal. You can hardly see it, but it's in.
Very good,
Okay,
very good.
you want to stand back here with us and get a
Sure
picture?
will.
Okay.
I'll get behind Al. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We have Al by the mayor in the middle. Can you come over here, Al?
Maybe right here, Al. You're getting around very well.
Go ahead, perfect.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Thank you. Now I'm gonna send you that picture too. Okay,
Very good, thank you.
do you have a story you can share with us quickly?
Well,
One of your favorites?
I will make up, one thing that, the average person don't know.
Okay.
We were originally called frogs,
I thought, okay,
and,
and what's the purpose?
and if it hadn't have been for, John Kennedy, he was at a PT 109, it was sank. And he got one survivor off of it, and they got on an island that was very heavily, with, Japanese soldiers. And, so the Americans couldn't get in to pick them up. So John Kennedy put this guy on his back and swim 1.5 miles with him on his back to one of the islands that was under United States jurisdiction. And, so when he got to be president, he didn't like the word frogs. So that's when he started calling Navy SEALs. And that is a true story.
We like the truth of it now.
You missing out on your dinner?
What?
Are you missing out on your dinner tonight?
No,
No, okay.
but, there was so many things in, back at that many years back, you know, that, we trained 20 hours every day, 24 hours, about 3 days a week. Cause it was, supposed to be a 3 to 5 month course. And in Florida, they, says you're gonna do it in, 2 months. Well, it separated a lot of the guys that wanted in. And first thing we did was a 10-mile run. Those that couldn't make a 10-mile run, they was automatically discharged immediately. And, so I met this one young lad about the same age I was, well, he was a good looking one of the two. And,
Not
we
sailor.
became buddies in boot camp. And when we would do a 2-mile run in boot camp, him and I competed with one another. And we continued to do that till we got in Navy SEALs. And then we still competed with one another. Sometimes, one of us would win, and next time the other would win. And we served together in the same, landing craft. We swam together. And him and I were good friends even up after the military. And my wife and I were to a reunion in Little Creek, Virginia. And so we was gonna go back to Iowa, and we decided that, why don't we just go through Atlanta and go down to Gulfport, Mississippi and see Rudy. She says, that sounds like a good idea. Well, when we got into pretty close to Gulfport, I called. And his wife answered. Now, this is the bad part. She says, who is it? I said, it's Al Hayes. She started crying. Oh, I says, I'm sorry, did I upset you? And she says, no. She said, Rudy died 3 months ago. He said the last thing he said was the breath he ever took. Would you please call Al Hayes and let him know? Now, we were that close of blood brothers. And so I hadn't forgot it. And I don't know that I ever will. But there is one thing that I don't know whether people notice or know the difference. But you've always heard the expression, once a Marine, always a Marine. Well, I got news for you. Once a Navy SEAL, you live it every day the rest of your life. And the big thing that bothered me the most of all of it is when I came home. I didn't fit with my parents. They sent a 17-year-old boy away. He wasn't that anymore. And you can't believe, I hated myself. I didn't fit anywhere. I was out of the line of the public, and really I just come so close to going back into the SEALs.
And then you met your wife.
And, I picked her up in Omaha.
20th and Dodge. It's the end of Omaha. You believe that?
Those old sailors, when the ship pulled in, the girls were on the beach waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The beach in Omaha, huh?
No, she was going to cosmetology school.
Nice.
And they were waiting on a bus. I was driving down the street, and I seen that girl with red hair. I just backed up.
Imagine backing up on Dodge.
That's the way it went.
Talking about his mom.
Picture.
And we
Oh, he knows.
were together. She passed away on her 75th wedding anniversary day.
You couldn't tell her any of these stories, anything about any of this for a long time.
Oh,
Well, no, I never did get to tell my parents.
no.
70 years we supposed to, well, the bad part of it was that I couldn't tell her. And here, about one of the very last times that we went to the reunion, why some of the ladies told her. She says, you have no idea what your husband did. She says, absolutely not. She said, he's awful mum about it. And so they told her. She says, the good thing he didn't tell you, you wouldn't believe it anyway. And so afterwards, why, she gave me quite a hard time for not telling her, see. Otherwise, the other gals would do it. And, but I feel like I made some mistakes that I should have at least told my mother and dad. And they both passed away before I could tell them.
Well, so if anybody has a secret, we know who to tell.
Yeah.
Well, he did mention, that everything was by memory. We had memory lessons. But I'll tell you the reason that we had to learn this was every 3 guys had a instructor that lived with you. If you ran 10 miles, he ran 10 miles right beside you. If, you swim 100 yards, he swam 100 yards. If, didn't make any difference what you did, he was right there. And we had a little Irishman, last name was O'Connor. Red face and red hair. And he had a voice you could hear from here to Essex. It seems like, we would be, swimming or something, and he'd be telling you what was the next process to go through. And, boy, he'd stop right there, and you'd still be in the water, and he'd say, "You repeat the last 15 words I said." You had to remember that. And we remembered it every night when we come back aboard the ship. The mothership, why, they debriefed us for 1 hour individually. A room about the size of most restrooms. And part of those were in the archive in Washington. And
They're all there.
because I've had people tell me they've seen them. But, if there was one thing in my life that wasn't easy, it was being an Navy SEAL.
Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for being a pioneer, actually, and a hero. And we're just really pleased to have you in Red Oak and wish you a very happy birthday, a couple days early.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you much.
Yes, good. Well, if anybody wants any more stories,
Yeah.
Alan is up at Arlington Place, and I'm sure he would love to share more. So, thank you very much for coming. Really glad you came. Great to come.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Be careful with this right there, sir.
Tom, I'd recommend you guys roll out of here or get
Well,
boring on you, but you
I
can
know.
stay if you like.
I know. I'm surprised that Al, you know,
See? Says right on that, special services.
you know, Al didn't tell you that when he went in, he couldn't swim.
Couldn't swim a stroke.
And the,
Well, I could
Coming to the Navy.
go across the pool.
and the best part is this guy behind me here was bugging me to do an interview, and his interview will go on his podcast tomorrow if you wanna.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've been at Arlington, but Al was sitting in his recliner and their knees were almost touching, and Aaron was across from him on the sofa. And I was back in the corner, and I know Aaron was just dying to get to the nitty gritty of what Al really did. And Al is still a little hesitant to get real descriptive, but he looked at him, he said, "Well, we were assigned a grid to count how many enemy were in it, and then they would multiply that to get an idea how many enemy were on the island." And he was looking at Aaron and he said, "Most of the time I was about as close to them as I am to you now." And Aaron's eyes got real big because you could have reached out and touched him. And Al said, "Yeah, a lot of times I counted them. I just stepped over them while they were sleeping." So
Wow.
if you thought it was a deal that they were 50 yards away and he was looking at binoculars, that wasn't true, was it?
No.
No.
You had to give them a estimated number, and I will tell you on, Iwo Jima, for instance. I estimated there was 17,000 Japs there.
17,000?
Yeah,
They
Wow.
killed 27,000.
yeah, there was more like, yeah,
They're close to 100,000, I think.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
What'd you lose?
My glasses. I
They
set them
got
down,
this string.
set them down on this,
Put on-
I know, I need to get one. I thought
Grandma-
I thought. I set them
Grandmothers
on the
wear them
car.
all the time. They have beads on them and stuff.
That's it. The black, those are them, right there, right there.
Aaron, if you put on hers though, you won't be able to see.
Thank you.
You wanna go? Or do you wanna listen to all this?
We can go,
Rhetoric,
you want to go last?
That's fine.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you for the
Wonderful to have
opportunity.
you.
See you, man. You bet. Nice to see you.
Be careful with that cord.
Mind the cord.
All right, you gentlemen have a good day and happy birthday.
Congratulations, Al.
Thank you all, folks.
Thank you, Al.
Thank
Thank you.
I didn't know you did this.
Okay.
That, we weren't any more heroes than
Yeah, I'm at.
the heroes are the boys under the white cross.
That little bit. Then I didn't
That's true.
No, you're all heroes.
You're all, yeah.
Well, no.
We'll all be there someday, won't we, Al?
Because one of the kids, we didn't knew none of this special ops stuff until about 15 years ago. We knew he was on a landing craft cruise and that was it.
Really? Wow. That's amazing that you were able to keep all of
And,
that.
One of the first things they told us when we got into the field, no is not in your vocabulary anymore.
I like that.
Never say no
Take
to
that block.
anything they ask you.
Yeah.
I told that to my kids.
I'll say Al said.
Well, it works with us.
Good.
They make it so hot for you that,
Good deal.
let me tell you, 3 or 4 days of 20 hours and then they give you about 24 hours. You get the idea.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
He knew.
And so with that, just a little FYI that our Army National Guard Red Oak unit will be deploying and they're going to have a send-off celebration on the 28th of this month at 4 PM at our armory. And I know that Senator Ernst is going to be there and I'm sure there will be others. I would like the community to attend if
Mhm.
whoever can come. So the 28th at 4 at the armory.
My nephew.
All right.
Well, thank you much.
Thank you. I'll get you that picture. Oh, good. Good.
We're busy every day.
All right. Number 7 is public comments. Do we have any public comments?
I will.
Thank you now. I know. That's what I told Aaron. He said, wanna know if I wanted to come. I said, are you kidding me? Every time I listen to it, I heard something.
All right, public comments, 3-minute limit. You're signed in. We've got 2. Do you folks want to speak or you're here more to answer questions?
Well, can we speak after we speak about, after you guys talk about that?
Council, are you okay with having them available it's further
The
down.
update on the citywide cleanup?
It's a ways
Yeah.
down. It's number 17.
Item 17.
Mhm.
Unless we're working, right?
Unless what?
Unless you wanna move it up to now.
Yeah, unless you wanna talk about the citywide.
Let's do
cleanup
that.
now.
Let's move it up.
Should we move it up?
Move it
All
up.
right.
Let's do it.
It's not gonna hurt.
Do I need a motion or anything?
No.
Okay. All right, so let's move 17 up. So we'll go ahead and discuss that.
Okay.
Citywide, so number 17 is the update on the citywide cleanup day, set for June 20th and 21st. And Lisa, do you want to share?
So a couple of things. As the council knows, the policy level decision was that we would charge $4 a month and that we wanted to do a cleanup. We intended to do a drop off. The staff and I have been talking about it for the last month since you adopted the code in its final form. So we believe that we need to make sure that it's someplace that we have easy traffic in and out, have storage areas. So I met with representatives from the Fair Board and they are willing to allow us to use the gravel parking lot that's just to the north of the White Fair building. And so we met out there with Dave and Nancy from out there and we intend to bring people in. We're gonna call the school to see if we can have extra storage of cars just in case. And our intent would be to have a map to try to encourage people to come in from 4th, assuming we have permission from the school to go through the school property, or excuse me, from 8th. And then come across to 4th, then go north on 4th onto Alix, and then we're gonna bring people in on the park property near the, on our city property, so there's those gravel driveways there, we can bring them in 2 wide to try and again have car storage that's off the streets,
By the campgrounds there.
on the backside.
Yeah.
Where your flags, I'm assuming, are in that building.
Yeah.
So we will have check-ins, when we advertise it, once we know how we're gonna exactly do it and what we're gonna accept, which the goal is to have that be approved at the June 2nd meeting. So I sent it out to all 5 haulers that do business in the community right now and asked them to submit an RFP for what their ideas were. Basically indicating that we have the dates booked. There's not a whole lot of dates that we can have a Friday, Saturday, and be able to store the stuff in case it has to come back for Monday. We would plan on how then people can exit. They can exit on the street that doesn't really have a name, you know, right here. They can come out this way. And then whoever the hauler is can then come out the driveway that's just to the west of the White Fair building. We'll make sure that people know if you're not from town and don't have an ID, you're not coming in. We'll have a map of, that's kind of what we're looking for from the haulers, is what capacity do you have? How many roll-offs do you have? How many trucks do you have? What ability do you have to help us man it? We'll obviously have all hands on deck from the city, but we have to be able to make sure that there is no chance that 6 hours in, we're done. We wanna have it be 2 full days, so that hopefully people who are unable to come during the week, that people who can come during the week will come on Friday. And then those who cannot can come on Saturday. Then our plan is, once the council gets everything approved on June 2nd, I think our best effort is to take Pat as our nuisance officer and other employees and basically hammer door hangers at every house that looks like they need to be taking their stuff there. And so we can have some sort of a nuisance notice on one side of it with the flyer for the cleanup on the other. And it would basically say that you're on our nuisance abatement list. Here's what you have in the backyard. We could have just a piece of paper that, you know, says that on there. Say that you're paying for this on your utility bill, and this is your first opportunity to dispose of these things for free. If there's a place for volunteers, where I think is appropriate is, we obviously don't have the ability to help people bring stuff to the site. And so I was gonna reach out to Rotary, to Kiwanis. John Gross had offered to do this, to be able to have trucks and trailers. If people are willing to do that, then we could advertise that if you're unable to get stuff to the site and have a request, we could also go to the school, maybe football, baseball. If somebody wants to do a fundraiser, we'd say it's a free will offering, or their community service hours, to be able to get on a list. You would call City Hall to get on the list, and then we divvy up the list amongst who's willing to volunteer to go to their houses, get the stuff and bring it to the site. I don't think city employees can be doing that. But I think if there are places for volunteers, if there isn't, then it's, you either can get it there or you can't.
Do we in fact have people willing to do that?
Well, John Gross spoke to it, but he doesn't want to talk to me. So I know that Tim's tried to meet with him.
We can't advertise that unless we actually have people lined up.
I
to do
said,
that.
after today, if the council's supportive of that, then we will advertise, and only if we have people willing to do it, would we advertise. The advertising of the event will be starting June 3rd. So we only have 2.5 weeks to advertise it.
I get it.
After we for sure figure out from the haulers what we can take. I've talked to Chris Doval. He is willing to bring a trailer there that'll fit about 30 appliances. He's willing to come and get it when it's full, empty it, bring it back.
We will be paying for that.
We will be paying $5 an appliance. I know that there was comments on Facebook calling me a dictator and saying that John Gross had offered to do things for free. I want the council to understand that while I believe that people like Chris and his brother can cooperate and help us by giving us the least possible price, I would say that I do not subscribe to asking business people to clean up our community for free just because they're in the business of whatever it is. I wouldn't expect that of the haulers to do it for free. We're collecting money, and we are a business and we're operating like a business. And so I think there is a place for volunteers to be able to help bring stuff to the site. I have a call out to Alters for a scrap truck. I talked to Mel Pins from the DNR to get people who are approved for tires. We'll see if we can get a hold of anybody. And again, if the haulers have contact with people, that's part of what we're asking them to propose on their RFP. What do you think we should take? What do you think we should not take? What's your cost and how much capacity do you have? I think, this has the potential to be big, and the last thing I want is for someone to have dumpsters filled up and the inability to take them and get them emptied in the middle of it, and that we have to say 3 hours into what we plan to be 16 hours is that we're done. And so that's, to me, like, our number one goal was to clean up our community, and we have to make sure that we have as much capacity as we can, because we absolutely have no idea. And we've heard about things where I also spoke to Clarios. They gave me some information about the people that they had used for e-waste, so I'll be reaching out to them as well. So between what the haulers can do and what they propose to us and what we can have the ability to contact and try to get, like, we wanna be as all encompassing as we can. I think tires, if we find a way to take the tires, we do need to limit them. There's probably so many per household. My plan is that City Hall will be closed on that day. That we will have probably all the office staff will be the people asking for IDs, a utility bill, some sort of proof of evidence that you live here. If you don't have it, you're out of the line and you're not coming in.
So who's gonna help unload and load?
So some of it will be city staff, but again, we're depending on, we choose, that's what I said in the RFP, is the more that the hauler can provide us help, then that needs to be part of the equation, because we do have city things that still have to go on, but we will have some sort of city staff there, so.
To help unload, because a lot of people can.
Yeah.
Get it there, but they can't.
And it's
unload.
faster too. The more that we can get people just driving up and we take their stuff out and they don't get out of the car, the faster.
So I threw my water bill away. How do I prove I live in town?
Driver's license,
Pardon me?
your driver's
And
license.
that tells me that tells you I live in
Your
town.
address.
Should have your address on your driver's license.
Okay.
We
So
can
if
see
you're in the
if, we
city
can
of
see
Red
if the addresses are within the city limits.
That's the reason that the office staff will be the ones, like
Yep.
Susie's gonna be she's on vacation that day, but between Donna, Karen, like, we can have a list, whatever it is, check your address.
Okay.
You know,
Failure is
PO
not a,
boxes, PO box. I got a PO box.
Your
Your
utility,
PO box is on your
you're not on your
driver's
driver's
license.
license,
No?
No.
not allowed.
To be a physical address.
Okay.
So, I did not expect the haulers to know that this was out there, so I did a direct email to all 5 of them saying you're welcome to submit it. They have to submit it by next week, Tuesday, which then gives us a week to review and talk about it, and then it would be on the agenda for the 2nd. Obviously, part of the, the next week is Junction Days, the next week is the 4th of July weekend, and then, it's hotter in the summer, and all of a sudden the summer's done and we haven't done this yet, so.
Yeah.
That's my reason for the availability of the weekends that the fairground was available. I think we have the best chance of the in and out traffic flow. Where Justin was down there with me, so we'll have extra patrol probably assigned just to that to make sure that traffic is flowing and that we're not, we're gonna say like, do not start packing cars on Broadway. And if people are sitting in line for 3 hours, they're gonna be aggravated. If we fill up our roll-offs and people are dumping stuff on the ground and we have to second time handle it, like, that's to me what's most important, so.
all right. So, Kevin, Carlisle, or Lynette, Bruce, do either of you have anything you wanna
We'll just do it together.
talk about? Okay, sounds good.
Want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. I guess what I'm asking is, why are we asking for an RFP for this? In the very beginning, when all this came about, we offered to help with this in the beginning, as well as possibly help financially. Baton Sanitation has dedicated 42 years. I know you've heard this before, but to the service of Red Oak and only Red Oak. In that time, there's been one citywide cleanup. So how would I have 3 events with references to list on an RFP? I've been here, that's it. With that being said, we have regular routes and customers that we have to take care of on those days. What are we supposed to do about that? I mean, I can't just leave them hanging. It was never discussed with us. That's what I don't understand. I mean, we would have helped with this or kind of had some influence in it. We're hoping we would. Kevin and I've talked, we don't have the resources or capability to do the whole town in 2 days. That's just, why can't we divide it up into sections and do certain parts on certain days, let alone taking it clear over to Mills County? So okay. Because this RFP is just a way to cut us out again, is what I feel. And get the big corporation. Oh, and just so everyone knows, Shenandoah, everybody knows probably, but everybody knows Shenandoah Sanitation and Waste Connections. Shenandoah Sanitation is Waste Connections, big corporation. They also own the transfer station and the big landfill in Mills County. And if nothing is voted on tonight on the RFP and it's due May 27th, how's that work?
because the staff has the ability, once the city council sets a policy. You know, this is not a community with 3 employees, this is 50 employees that we work for the council and bring it back to them. So the policy decision was, we're having one, and we're charging for it, and we change the code. And then they will make the decision on the second, and in the interim, everything that we do does not require a city council vote. So that's why we did it from the staff level. So just like I've explained this before, when the 2 chiefs come forward and say, we want to do our flooring, we want to buy some new piece of equipment, a new pickup truck, we don't say, is it okay? Can we do that? Can we go ask for bids? And then come back and have to ask for bids. So this keeps coming up here, but this is a normal practice when you have employees, that we get things gathered up and then we bring them back.
So. Yeah, there's absolutely no way. I'm not filling out the RFP. I don't,
So we're gonna,
we cannot even combine together.
we
The two of
cannot
us
take
cannot
clear
do
over
this.
there.
Not,
Can't.
and. to
But
go
that's not
along with-
us. The transfer station said they have the ability to take
But
3
it-
whatever containers they have. And so they said, we don't want it.
Yes.
That's not us taking you out because of Waste Connection.
Well,
Okay,
it could be
so-
split up.
Waste, or all waste in Montgomery County. Is to go through this transfer station.
And the transfer station said, if you're having a cleanup, you have our permission to go straight to the landfill.
And then
Is-
Montgomery County gets the money for that.
I'm not sure. But
Well-
it was the transfer station that gave us permission to go there.
Well, transfer station, which is
They
owned
own by
by
the same people.
same people, so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just something to kind of think about. Is in the solid waste agreement that we have. With the transfer station, everything we pick up in Montgomery County and through the DNR is required to go there. So, it's for money, I can't think of the word I wanted to use. Unlike Lynette. You know, you always refer to 30 years of doing something. Well, I've been doing this for over 30 years, this sanitation. Almost every year, maybe a couple in there that they skipped and didn't do it. I'm involved in at least 3 cleanups a year. This is, as I stated in my text message to the councilman, and thanks to Tim, John, and Adam for responding to me. This is absurd. Absolutely absurd. It should be done in sections. We could handle it and once again, if this would have came to us, we could have discussed this. It can be done in sections. And yeah, it might be all summer long, every other weekend, or whatever it might be. But it could be done during the week or Saturday morning. Ours typically, a lot smaller town, typically we start 8 to 11. We allow 2 tires per residence, charge $5 a piece. I'm there with my skid loader and a grapple bucket, literally breaking up the larger items like the desks and anything that can be smashed. Our Gribble Betterment group volunteers our time there. We literally load it and stack it into the roll-off. And like I said, I know we're on a totally smaller, but you get the general idea of it. I feel if you had it if we could use Lynette's roll-offs and maybe mine are smaller, you know, mine could be strictly for mattresses. You know, you guys pick an area and we do it, you know, maybe on a Friday and maybe on a Saturday morning, you know, that
So
gives
you're
us.
proposing we do this
really hard.
4 to 6 weekends?
It makes it really hard.
We have to man it for that many
Or do it
weekends?
for, do
Well,
it for that week.
you're not manning anything. You're checking people at the gate.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I
Yes,
didn't.
you did.
Can read it aloud. That's not true.
Well, it doesn't matter. So you're expecting I mean, just so everybody's clear that we're not opposed to the cleanup at all.
No, we want to have-
on board since day one. We've been beating this horse for 7 months. But you just took the 2 of us out of the picture.
Why can't you put a proposal in there for what you think we should do?
I just did.
There's 3, I don't have 3 people. I mean, I don't have 3 citywide
But then
cleanups
how
that
would
I
you
have.
even,
I don't-
that's the whole thing though, is that how do you propose you want this idea for your 4 to 6 weekends. How are we making sure that city people come there? And that
You
we're
got
not
50
paying,
employees, right? Is that
right,
what you
but
just said?
we have 50 full-time employees, if
Okay.
everybody, that's including firemen and policemen, so that's not exactly correct
Okay,
for
then that was a
hands
false
on deck.
statement.
No, it's not true. That's not an untrue statement. We have 50 employees.
Are those 50 employees helping with the cleanup?
Some of them will be. They can't all be because we have other things to do.
Okay, so there's not 50 then.
Wait,
I didn't say 50 for the cleanup.
I have
so-
3.
Okay. But how are you, again, like, for us to compare what we're gonna do, like, you call these things absurd, but
Absolutely.
we have to know what you have for capacities.
And that's why we put out RFPs, like when we built our subdivision up North Town, we put the RFP out there so we can get information back.
Hi.
And so we know that people that we're hiring to do the job are capable of doing the job, and that's the only reason the RFP goes out.
Well, I
Plus, we
understand
wanna
that.
get the price back and we wanna get all the cost figures involved. This is not anything new. I mean, normal procedure when we purchase anything above a certain value or we do anything that's out of the ordinary, we always put RFPs out.
And I understand the whole RFP process. We're here to tell you that we can't do this. And then plus, it was sprung on us of the date. And, you know, I mean, I'm gone every single weekend. Every single week.
Can I just say
Sure.
something? You two have done a great service to the community. You have your pickups, you have your customers. We agreed to leave everything as it was. But our goal is to clean up the community, try a one-time service to the community to get it cleaned up and do it the best way possible. That doesn't take anything away from you. If we have to use a bigger contractor, we're gonna have to at this time, clean it up once. Maybe in the future, we can go to a smaller pickup. You see what I
so
mean?
you're not cutting us out completely.
We're not.
No, I mean-
cutting you out completely. We're
Well, that's
saying.
what we
that
feel.
Wanna get this.
You understand.
cleaned up, and that's what
Gotta
we're
get it
doing.
done.
That's all Lisa's
Well,
saying.
you got, but, and I don't, and that's a good point. But on the same side of what Lynette's saying, there's that fear of big corporation.
Oh, you know,
And
we have gone through this for 6 months.
I know, exactly.
And everybody has backed you in this community. So don't think that we haven't backed you too, because we have worked for you
Okay.
the whole time.
Yes.
So if we wanna do a citywide cleanup with a bigger contractor that you can't do, I think you should welcome that, because you have your regular schedules, we're not taking away from that. All we're trying to do is what's best for the community. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And we guys.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a scale of a cleanup hitherto that I don't think maybe you've even seen before.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, one
One
time,
time, that was.
and how long ago was that?
Right,
If it could be
right.
accumulation up to this
It was
point,
unbelievable.
we need to do something initially to get this wiped clean, like wipe the slate clean. We can't drag this out for 6 to 8 weeks. to get a cleanup done. We don't have that kind of time. It's gotta get done one time at least to start, and then the future ones probably don't need to be as big.
Yeah.
Well, and
But
then
this one,
Please
we've
don't
got
cut us
to
out
have
in
a
the future,
big.
that's all I'm asking.
None of this has ever meant
This
to
was a
cut you guys
one-time
out.
Well, and maybe it should have been, maybe it should have been brought, and I know it sounds like we need to know everything that's going on, but maybe we should have. Maybe it should have been brought to, hey, this is what we're doing, you
It
know,
would've
our
been
ideas,
nice,
instead of getting
yeah.
an email that says, you know, caught both of us off.
Well, I understand you
Yeah,
might have got caught
yeah,
off
it
guard,
did.
but we can't, once we've given direction to our city administrator, we can't micromanage the way that she handles it after that.
I can't imagine either one of you being caught off guard, because with all the thing we did with the municipal trash, and we talked about this for months now. I can't imagine either one of you being. caught off guard.
RFP kinda did,
Yeah.
that's what threw me.
But it's just simply
If I'm
try to
remember
get
right,
the
there's like two
information that we
questions
need.
that you had on there, like how many employees, and that was one of the questions that you felt comfortable.
Right.
And how many events, right? That made you
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The way I look at that is we're just trying to get information on the company.
Yep.
And it's not
Okay.
trying to weed you guys out.
Okay,
But you guys.
That's the way I looked at it.
Take you out in the future.
Okay,
Just
that's
make
all-
sure
that's all
that
we're
you-
asking.
We've gotta make a
Okay.
big
Let's-
impact.
We've backed you guys.
We got it.
I mean,
I know, I
on
appreciate
personal
that. I
attack
know.
from people out in the public have personally attacked all of us here.
I know.
Yes.
And you know, and it's gonna
All
happen
this
again.
was
We
simply
can't
having
have that. We wanna
discussions.
move forward.
Yes.
okay.
That's it.
Well, and
You understand, we just gotta, you gotta stand up for yourself these days. I mean,
Oh,
it scares you to death,
And
we're just trying to survive.
If we felt that it was in your realm that you could do it, we would do it, but maybe down the road, we're gonna have maybe
Then we can
Maybe.
handle it.
a couple times a year where you guys can handle it. We don't have to have such a big.
And our other
This
goal is
first
to
one-
eventually have a.
It's gotta
cars.
be
No idea
big.
the
This one's
amount
gotta
that's
be-
gonna be in.
Oh, yeah, I do.
No idea.
I do, that's
Well,
why I
that's what I'm
said we can't
saying,
do
so
it.
that's why we
You know
gotta
what it
do it
was?
one and done to start with.
Years
Well,
ago.
I mean,
But
that,
that's our point though, is like, we're not trying to put you out.
Okay, all right.
But
that's
the
all I wanna
reality
hear.
is
That's-
that, think about how stupid we all look. If we have this day,
Yeah.
and I don't
Yeah.
wanna fail, I don't wanna hear people say they were in line for 5 hours and the roll-offs were
Yeah.
all full,
And we
and
can't-
you didn't have the people to
and
take
going
it,
clear
and
over
so.
there.
If
Which is what
someone has
happens
it-
every time we do this.
well,
They get
and that's why,
full in a
and that's
half
why I was
hour.
kind of suggesting the smaller ones, but now
I just don't
listening.
think
We need
that's
a big one.
practical.
We gotta make a
Okay.
big impact.
Yeah,
We understand,
Get this
okay.
done.
I just,
All right.
I,
Don't forget us.
It's not, there's no offense intended.
That's what, you guys, we want your business in town, don't think
Okay.
we don't.
well, and it was just, you know, cause when it really bothered me the day that, when we did ours. That's what really hit me. I'm just like, and that's why that email that I sent that Monday or whatever it was. I think, because whatever day you sent that out, cause you said good timing. It was like some of the stuff that we were that was bringing in, just that we were bringing in, it's just like, it's aggravating to me because it's clearly been sitting in your yard or your basement or your garage
Mhm.
for a long time. So I mean, that's what I'm like, are you prepared?
But that's why we have to go big or go home.
Yep.
No,
Like,
I
we're
mean,
not
this
trying
is-
to put you out, but we cannot fail.
Okay.
Well,
May I say something, just super quick, that I
Yeah.
could kind of sum.
Who are?
This is Mrs. Town and Country.
Tell you.
I'm
I'm
Amy.
I'm Amy Carlisle, Kevin's wife.
Part of the business.
I feel like from, all the discussions that took place and what everybody has been through, what ended up, that we kind of finalized on and ended up with the citywide cleanup idea was going to be better communication between how it was going to work and between the haulers. So then to just have the email come in with the RFP without any, inkling of a discussion before that is what
Yeah, that's why.
gets
we got it,
everybody
yeah.
excited.
Well, and the idea with our RFP was to give you a chance to explain how you would handle it
Yeah.
or what you could contribute to it.
well, so that,
That's the
so
idea there.
it sounds like a misunderstanding.
Yeah, it is.
So having been involved in RFPs for a lot of my life as a general contractor, I mean, that's how you start the conversation. You send out an RFP. That's how the conversation starts. You don't start the conversation before that.
I guess our understanding was, or my understanding was that we were all gonna look at it together. Everybody that got a permit, we were all gonna try and help,
We
And
will
that's-
eventually.
you know. Okay.
I think that that's a possibility, but to
Yep.
say we're gonna advertise something, and
Okay.
like I said, my goal is that we have to go to every single house and be like, here's your chance, clean it up. Because at the end of the day, when we had our strategic planning, it wasn't to like pick one company or pick another, it's clean up this town, and there is
That was the
stuff
purpose.
everywhere, you know that.
So if we don't put in RFPs, you're not gonna eliminate us,
No.
right?
This is for, 2 days,
2
I
days.
know,
and then we
this,
go from
this
there.
2 days, okay.
Yeah.
We're not
Just for that, that's
Which
it.
is completely understandable, and I understand what you're saying about sending out an RFP and the official way to do it. But the prior conversations were, it was going to be a more inclusive discussion to figure it out.
Well, that's why we have our city administrator to figure it out, but.
Logistics of these things are huge.
Sure, we're hoping to have curbside pickup, and that's where we will involve you in the process.
No, I mean, I'm guessing that you're planning on. You're expecting people like the hoarders that may try to get rid of stuff. I mean, so you're willing to take all this stuff that's in their basements or garages, not just the stuff that's outside visible.
Well, they
right?
See what they bring. Hopefully they bring enough.
Okay,
I mean, that's the whole point
To
of
keep them
why,
from putting
you
it
know,
outside.
again, if that's not meant, like, if this just isn't what you have the capacity to do, that was the point of what can you do? I don't know how many roll-offs you have, and I don't know how big they are, and I don't know what kind of trucks you have. Because that hasn't been something you,
Yeah, well, I
Given
thought we
us,
were
yeah.
going out there to go over there. We used to go over there and
well, but I called the transfer station and I
Yeah.
said, we're gonna have a day.
yeah,
So
I
then it
I
became,
figured that.
right, and then it
Figured that.
became, they're open one day on a Saturday, the first weekend. I'm like, okay, well, June is too soon. And then what happens on the first weekend in July? It's called the 4th of July.
Mhm.
Well, we're not doing it then. So
Oh,
then
yeah,
it gets
tell
us
me
to
all.
August and the whole
Yep.
summer's gone. So if we're gonna go there, I said,
Yep.
what do you have the capacity to do? Because you're not closing us down. We are not gonna have 50 people in line and be like, oh, sorry, we're full. That is not happening.
But let's
Just
put it in
can't-
the nice points to have it explained along with the sending out of the RFP.
yeah, it's,
just
right.
to help understand clear communication.
We appreciate you guys' comments and we thank you for coming forward. We do need to move on though.
I got a problem that this thing started out as a simple, good idea. And now it's bloomed into a big, major.
It's still a simple idea. It's gonna be simple.
I just can't see why or how. When we started with something simple that was workable, it's turned into this. It's asinine and it did.
But what do you mean by it should be simple?
John, every project that you do requires details.
And
So
yeah.
anytime that I have been involved in any contracting
Logistics.
job, RFPs, anything in my, and I have built hospitals and ORs and it takes detail for everything. This is maybe not a small, a big project to people, but to
It's
our
huge.
community, it's a big project. And you have to work out the details or you're gonna end up with a firestorm there of people that are gonna be upset because we didn't have the details done. So that's what it takes.
And we also have to have, if we're gonna do this on 2 days, we have to have the companies that have the power, the capacity to, that we don't have trash sitting in the fairgrounds for 2 other weeks.
Exactly.
It has to be hauled out that day.
Right, in the fair, you know, like they have a race thing.
Oh, and not to mention the commitment for all our employees,
Yes.
blah, 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 blah.
We have to be
And,
able to
and
clean
again,
up.
we're trying to make sure that everybody gets a fair shot at it and we will work with you move forward.
Thank you.
And you gotta remember, this is I brought that up. Every time this goes through, we have to look at this event again and how it's gonna work. 'Cause
And we'll have so
was-
much more knowledge after the.
Exactly, we said, we put a sunset clause on there.
Well, and there's a lot of things like Lisa mentioned, the whole, what Doble's taking it, I mean. And not to tell you, or just another suggestion, anything that doesn't have beyond, like washers, dryers,
Mhm.
Stuff like that, that's all stuff that you guys could have an area or if it's possible, you could refund some of your money that way,
You mean, cause it's scrap?
because it's scrap.
Well, that's why we're calling alters.
Okay, so when you said appliances, you're probably,
Well, obviously, we have to decide, like Alters has to tell me if they're willing to bring a container, like what can I put in there?
And
And
then-
what does Chris have to take?
okay, so along with Alders, if they don't, Frederickson's out of Atlantic also has,
Yeah, that's where we take our stuff normally, but
Okay.
you have to take it there.
no,
Whereas-
he's got containers, I asked him, he's got 50-yard roll-offs.
Yeah, I don't know, that's not what I was told, but Alters, they said.
Well,
they
the
bring a
owner told
container.
me that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well,
Alright.
if something comes up and you need something.
Okay.
All
right,
Appreciate that, Lynette. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any department reports? No. All right, so those will be next time. Number 9, consent agenda. This includes the approval of the minutes from the city council meeting on 5/5/25 and the special council meeting on 5/9/25. Liquor licenses for Stadium 34 for their annual renewal and for the Red Oak Chamber and Industry Association for the 5-day Junction Day special event for June 26th through 30th. And then street closures for the Questers Cemetery Walk, June 27th. Also, the Red Oak Chamber and Industry, June 26th through the 29th, as explained in your packet. And then finally, the May 19th, 2025 claims for a total of $158,881.72.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Friedel,
Second.
Hebrink. Roll call.
Friedel,
Yes.
Isaac,
No,
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
and Bill.
Yes,
Number 10 is ordinance 2025-10, use of right-of-way for community events. This is the first reading, and this will help us reduce some of these things that we come before the council that our staff can do for us. So Lisa.
So on page 30 of the packet, I simply added one sentence that says the council may by resolution create a policy that delegates approval of the use of streets and right of way to the city administrator and chief of police for community events and activities. So a lot of communities will do that and, we would bring something back if it was new, if it was big, if it was an existing event, but seriously changed. And, it's an easier way for us to respond to the citizens. There's not that delay of like, hey, when you get on the agenda, you have to write a letter. There'd be a form usually that most communities have. I just think it would be more efficient.
So on all these street closures we do for like we just did for 518 and.
Classy chassis
So
and,
you guys will just handle that at your level now?
yes.
I have no.
As long as I think it's fine as long as it's something that's been done before in the past, but it's something new. then-
First time.
First time.
So then this just allows you, because right now, as you can see, it says with permission of the council. So then if we get to the third reading of this, then we'll just have a resolution that says this is how, you know, and exactly that. Like if it's a brand new event, come to the council. If it's a major change in an existing event, come to the council. Otherwise, the staff can approve. And then we just give you a report on which things got
Or if
approved.
it's something like what's going on with the art projects, I mean, you guys should be able to do that. Even though it's something new, you should be able to allow them to close a sidewalk and some parking spaces without coming to the council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
You can
think.
say like, you know, full days versus, you know,
And maybe just keep
just
us
doesn't
informed.
seem like it's necessary for the council.
As long as the street is still passable, I would think that it would not require it. But that's just me talking.
I think if it's a first time event, it should should go through the council. Otherwise, if it's an annual event, then.
Even if it's something like what we just did for
You
the,
could say like downtown mural, it could be where you could say we're approving if there's downtown murals and they need to have safety.
Yeah.
If it's here versus there versus here, you know, if it's the third mural, then you need to, I guess that's what Brian's saying, you have to come because it's a new mural.
well, I guess what I'm saying is, you know, if we're not closing the actual, you know, the roadway and, you know, we might, you know, be fencing off a sidewalk or closing some parking spots. I don't see that we need council approval for that, but if, you know, if we're actually closing a right of way and you can't, you know, pass through there and it's something new,
Oh, yeah,
then I would agree.
I agree.
Then we should talk about it, but if it's something minor and you're not, you know, impeding the public right of way, I would say no. That you don't need council approval. That's just me.
Do you need
So
to
this would be
change
a
the
first
verbiage at
reading.
all? Yeah.
No, because the resolution's gonna give the details. This
Yes.
simply says by
By
resolution,
resolution.
you can delegate.
Got it. Okay, so that's the only thing that's added is this one statement that will then be further explained in the resolution.
Which we would do at the third reading of this reading.
So I take a motion,
I move to approve the first reading.
Friedel,
I'll second.
Bradley. Further discussion? Roll call.
Isaac,
No.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Right off.
Yes.
Number 11, ordinance 2025-08. This is our farm animal ordinance regulations. This is the second of 3 readings. And Lisa did make those changes after our last discussion, so we now include, we just defined, 6 hens, no roosters, ducks, I've got to find it, hens, ducks, rabbits, and pigeons. And they do have to provide a diagram of what the, whatever you would call it, the coop or whatever the pen
Whatever the
would
housing
be,
unit.
yeah, the housing shelter unit would be.
I didn't see in there, do we require them to be portable, movable within the yard?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I mean, you could if that's what you want, but no.
Yeah.
we haven't
You think
said that.
that's important?
Well, sometimes it is kind of important because you can move it around so it doesn't build up such waste.
Well,
The smell can,
I get it, but
That's up to you.
how much regulation we're gonna put in somebody's.
right.
Yeah,
That would
Exactly.
be up to the
Yeah.
nuisance.
Yeah.
I move to approve the second reading if I may.
right off,
I know.
I'll second it.
bills? Any other further discussion? Roll call.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Right off.
Yes.
Isaac,
No.
Number 12 is discussion on the farm animal fee amount. This is for her to put together the regulation resolution for the next council meeting. And did we have an amount in there?
No, that's the whole, well, it used to be $10, which is not acceptable.
That's not acceptable. It has
In my
to be
opinion, it is not covering
at least
anywhere near accepting it, processing it,
30.
somebody buzzing out there. So to
What's our
me,
cost?
I don't know. I mean,
It
we
should
had
cover our
$35 and $50 on our excavating and driveway. So to me, somewhere in there.
I do one of the other.
And it
ones.
is annual in this case.
Being this is for homeowners and not for commercial, I would say $35 for sure.
That's only 7 dozen eggs.
I'm sorry,
That's only 7 dozen eggs.
So your first 7 dozen eggs are towards the feet.
And you gotta remember, some of these are 4-H projects, for some of
True.
these kids.
True.
That's where we've seen the most increases in rabbits and poultry at our fair. And
There are
I mean,
people that are starting though to think about raising chickens though, so we really have to address it.
So 35.
Start with
Yep,
35.
then they can't have a rooster.
That'll cover some of our
We've
expenses.
eliminated 3 roosters since I've been here.
Yeah.
Please remove your rooster.
I move that we, $35.
This is just discussion, so I don't bring it back, but
Yeah.
is everyone okay with me
Yep.
preparing a resolution for
okay.
35?
All right. Anything else on that?
No.
Okay, number 13, ordinance 2025-09. This is the second reading of the tree contractor's license ordinance.
Anything change?
I would like to see, under proof of insurance, inland marine coverage, I still believe we don't need it.
You know, I'm not in disagreement with that, because all that does is cover their own personal gear. I mean, it doesn't cover us, it doesn't cover anybody they're working on. All inland marine does is insure their equipment for theft or fire or something like that, but inland
that's
marine is not a liability policy on any level, so I wouldn't disagree with that.
So,
Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
so are you saying remove D, inland marine coverage?
Under proof of
Yeah,
insurance.
I still don't need for that either.
I'm okay with that.
So who wants to make a motion to approve with that change?
I'll move to approve this with the change to eliminate the need for inland marine in the ordinance.
Okay,
I'll second.
Bradley? You lost out there, Adam. You could have seconded it.
Yeah.
All right, roll call.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes.
Brightoff,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
and Heat Brink.
Yes.
Number 14 is the discussion on the tree contractor license fee amount. Is there an amount that you would like to see us start at?
So
Or you feel is appropriate? Didn't we talk about 200?
I would say about 200. I'm good with, again, we have to review this, we have to look at their insurance. It's a business operation. We charge the garbage 500. So we obviously don't wanna go higher than that, but I do feel like the garbage is a weekly, every week, constant thing.
Oh, it's a
Every
huge hit on
ticket
our roads.
That everyone uses.
Huge hit on our roads.
Right,
Yes,
whereas you
huge
say, you know, tree could be 5 trees a year or 25 trees or 100 trees, so.
Yeah.
To
That's a little
me,
more hit and miss.
200 seems fair.
Okay.
I think I'd, you know, like when I spoke to Scott or Justin, who've been the most, you know, conversational about it, I don't think either of them are opposed to that, so I'd recommend 200. Everybody okay with that for next time?
All right, I'm good. Okay. Moving forward, number 15, this is resolution 2025-57, hiring JEO to design the water improvements on Highway 48 bridge. This is for the bridge project that will take place in 26.
So I thought DOT was covering all the expenses and all the stuff for that.
They take it
I don't
out.
pay for
We're
water.
responsible for it, even if they take it out. That's.
There is no DOT project that ever pays for utilities, ever, anywhere in the.
Even though.
So they're gonna come in and tear out our bridge and expect us to,
Absolutely.
Yes.
wow.
If they open up your road and you have utilities, like you may not have, you know, you don't normally have it on Highway 34, but that's not how it works.
Wow.
So this,
Wow.
Any city I've
That's
ever been.
intrusive. That's intrusive. To come in here and
So is this
and tear
just-
our stuff up and tell us we have to fix it.
this is only for.
Well, it's
planning
super
and
old, so why would you
engineering,
fix it?
It is for the, the design,
engineering.
engineering of
So
the.
what's the cost for the replacement?
Idea, that's the point of hiring the contractor.
So that's gonna cost us a lot.
It's not gonna be cheap.
Well, if you have an attitude that you don't wanna do it because it's not gonna get fixed, then you're not gonna ever get your
Well,
improvement.
No, we need the bridge. I just, and once again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I just, you know, it seems like,
Use the old pipe, so you have,
Yes, we have to.
but it seems like, never.
they just don't, because it's not
We
there.
do say that with a total not to exceed 35,600.
When
So
were
we've
the
got that
pipes
not to
replaced?
exceed.
Are they original?
But this is just for design. This is not for
It's just
implementation.
design, I know.
Yeah, this is,
I
has
don't know
nothing to
how
do
old
with
it is.
I
implementation.
mean, I'm sure the bridge was, when it was first built, there's nothing been replaced as far as the water.
Again, you have to look at it like this. The Department of Transportation fixes transportation.
Mhm.
They are not in the business of municipal utilities, nor would it be appropriate for the state taxpayers
Do we have an
to pay for
estimate?
water and sewer.
Do
No,
we
we
have
have
an
no
estimate?
idea. That's why I
Until
need
we
these
hire,
guys.
that's why we need to have it, that's why we have to have this.
No, I mean, I'm sure you've talked about this with our water people, right?
They have no idea.
They have no
I
idea.
have no idea.
It's a completely different thing than if you said, when you put water under the road, like this is
Totally
on a
different.
bridge,
I'm
connected, so
I'm
it's a
aware
whole
it's a
different
different
gig. And
situation.
sometimes you have to create a, you create shoring to then be able to install it to whatever happens on the shorelines. So it is not the same deal. And so to even take a stab at it, I'm not okay guessing.
So we have some preliminary concept costs, right, for the project management, preliminary design, final design permitting, and then bridge support.
But that has nothing to do with how much it costs to replace the water.
So this is something that we're gonna have to budget for next year's budget.
the money coming from?
It'll probably have
From
to
the
come
water
from
utility that has $1.2 million in
Yeah.
assets.
So I think we're.
Sewer, not so much. You have no
Right.
money.
But this will be for next year's budget,
Well, we have to
Most
be done.
likely it'll be bid. Yes, it'll be next
next
year.
year's budget.
Not next year's budget, like a year from now. It's not
So
gonna be
27 budget.
6, 7.
27, that starts in 27.
All right.
So
we need a motion.
they are like, we are like stalling and holding things up.
Yes,
By not giving them.
The resolution.
right off,
I'll second.
Heat Brink. Roll call.
Bills,
Yes.
right off,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Number 16, resolution 2025-58. This is redirecting Schneider and Associates for Oakwood Avenue Water Project. This is something I know myself that we have basically 6 properties that are gonna be impacted. We thought if we could work with them to put it through and actually reduce, like widen the right of way to include that. That
No,
we
we were
would,
looking for an easement, not expanding the right.
yes, okay, sorry.
So, the property owners have been contacted, they've refused, correct?
Can't
I just
even meet
haven't
with them.
responded. Yeah.
Okay.
You just
So
can't
then-
find them. They don't live here.
And the total cost then did come in 5,000.
5,000 is for so it was gonna be have an easement on the north side. And everybody has to put it on their property so that we don't have to redo the road. So if we can't get an easement, we have to fit it in our right of way. So now we're proposing one of 2 things. You could either try to tuck it in right at the curb so that you do not do the entire redo of the road, or because the road is in such poor condition, if you want to say that when we do the water project, that road use money also gets used to fix the road, then you can put it in the middle of the road. They're probably suggesting tucking it in at back of curb.
Hmm.
And then you most likely only repair about 18 inches of the pavement on the north side.
What did the water department say? Our water department.
Fix the water.
The street is bad. in
The
certain
street is
areas.
bad, but it's not fair to
Yes.
make the water pay for an entire street that doesn't
Exactly.
need to be ripped up. So if,
Exactly.
do you want to use road money to fix a road that's super off the beaten path and doesn't get a lot of traffic?
Yes,
So how much?
Or do you
is
wanna
the
tuck it
total
in?
Again?
it's
We
5,000.
don't know, but it's 5,000. It's 5,000 for the contract.
Yeah.
Then they would have to redo the
The-
estimates and come back.
Not
Yes,
to exceed 35,600.
no, that's the
No,
other
that's
one.
the
That's
other
the
Just
J.
got, I sent you an email today.
Yeah.
It's not in the packet.
Oh, okay.
Cause they sent it, I didn't get it at packet time, so it's $5,000 for them, they had already designed it to go in the easement.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was around $150,000 to $200,000 project,
And how many feet is this? How many?
1 full block.
One
It
full block.
was
Mhm.
300 to 400, but again, like, there was
it's
one
like-
lady that said absolutely not, and the rest we like literally can't get an answer from. And
So when we tear up the right of way, that's up to us to put everything back, the curbs and everything, correct?
yes,
Oh, they have curbs. I haven't been by there, so,
there is a curve.
There is a curve.
okay. And the $5,000 just covers the,
Redoing of
Redoing.
bringing the new plans
new plans.
into the right of way backside of curb.
Cause they've already done the plans for the other.
Need a motion for this.
Yes.
Yes,
I'll make it.
Bills,
I'll second.
Bradley, roll call.
Right off,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yeah.
and Phillips.
Yes.
Item number 18, discussion on the budget amendment and the public hearing for May 27th. I just asked Lisa, I think that she did a nice job explaining the differences in the proposed budget and the current. And what we are estimating we need to make the adjustment to. Do you want to
So
expand on
the
anything?
biggest thing is that you didn't explain the budget right. There's not as much that's like crazy new, but like, for example, you didn't put Woodland Hills in the budget. So
Mhm.
that's $2 million that you didn't plan on. And so you're spending it even though you brought the money in. So it also looks like this big amount of money is coming from fund balance because you remember that you borrowed it in May and you basically spent it all in the budget that we're amending. So then it's just using money out of reserves because you showed the money coming in last year and then bringing it out of this year. There were no transfers in there. And so if you remember, we talked about like water money, sewer money for debt. Like none of that was budgeted properly. The debt payments weren't budgeted properly. And so the biggest things, you know, while there are, and then if you'll recall that we made an error in the revenue for the fire department where we budgeted for money coming from the hospital and then from all the other communities in the amount of $242,000. So like, that's a huge swing in the other direction. And then all of those capital projects, so like the tornado is $500,000, like that wasn't budgeted for. Because you had
Okay, we
budget done before the tornado came in May, and so there's just, you know, it really isn't like, hey, we're just spending all this money frivolously and it's a change, but it was things just not properly listed in there. So that's the biggest reason why there's all these changes. And then obviously some of the expenses, you know, there are some reasons why, because of additional expenses, like we didn't really budget the right amount for some of the insurance. For some reason, the chief, with the fire department, like I can see documentation where he was at like $900,000 for salaries and then all of a sudden it was budgeted at 700. And there was a mistake in the library's budget where like one of the people that's normally employed there wasn't budgeted in the salary. So like those were two mistakes. And so most of it is just adjustments like that. So
How much of our
And then
insurance
more
covered
revenue.
the tornado damage?
a lot of it, all of it $2,500, and then we're trying to get some from FEMA. But what it says is even in like the state's rule, when it comes to an amendment, even if you had a grant for $1 million and everything that you spent was all coming out of the grant, you still spent $1 million that you didn't plan. So it's not a balancing of the budget. It's just, if you didn't tell us you were gonna spend it, even if it's all paid for by outside sources, you still have to amend the budget.
Yep.
It is not about taking money where you don't have the money or that you didn't plan on it. So, you know, like, are you really amending your budget for $2,500 that our deductible was for the tornado? No, you have to budget for the whole thing, even though insurance money's coming in for all the $2,500.
So am I reading this right? We're amending it by a total of $8,634 and some change.
8 million.
8 million. Oh, okay, yeah.
I know. I felt like that needed to be
Like there was
explained.
no 000 there.
There's no points. There's no decimals.
I thought
That's all
that
dollar.
needed to be explained.
My glasses aren't that good for 8 million.
I know, like,
But again, it's a deceiving number because it includes like revenues and expenses together then. So when you look at, you know, what we actually, like its capital is a big one. And then all these transfers in and out they all come together. And so the real change is if you look at 3 lines up from there, the total expenditures are 3.4 million that are being changed. And if you look at just Woodland Hills, you know,
That's
the
it.
fire truck, even though the fire truck is $1 million of it, like that's not in there.
Yeah.
Because we're not spending that money this year. The truck's not running.
So
Um,
2.2 of that, 3.4 is Woodland Hills.
Correct.
well, yeah, 1.1.
1.8 really.
Yeah.
1.1. We borrowed 2.2 for it, correct?
2.7, 2.7. But we came in at 1.8. So we
Plus
did
$1
good.
million of it was for the fire truck.
Yeah.
Yes. Which will.
So this is the ad that's in the paper, and then remember, we have a special meeting next Tuesday. At 5:30.
So between those two, I mean, pretty much counts for everything.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's
just a
also, like I
matter
said,
of having
the main
people-
stuff is fire salaries were not budgeted properly and library salaries were not budgeted properly. So when you look at public safety, the line item, the first expense line item, that 100,000. there's things that they didn't spend that are unplanned, that they planned to spend and didn't. So even though salaries were off, like there's other things that they didn't.
Cushioned it a little bit.
Public Works, there were some things that just were off with like benefits. Culture and Recreation, that is, the main two things are the salaries were not correct for the library. And then the pool was significantly under budgeted for the salary, so.
We have a lot more.
I thought those were adjusted last year, the salary.
We had a lot more pool attendance, but see, that was after the budget was already put together. So that's where it gets challenged. You gotta remember, we're putting a budget together almost 18 months before it happens, so we're guessing on some regards. And community economic development, okay, nothing there.
No change.
Yep. Capital projects, government activity expenditures. What is the government activity expenditures?
That's the total government activities is the total of the number above.
Okay,
And then business type enterprises are water and sewer.
Okay.
So you take those two lines total.
Okay.
So it'll be, the hearing will be next week, but that was just because we didn't have the numbers in front of you at the last meeting.
so it is Tuesday, the 27th at 5:30 here. And it will be basically public hearing. And then vote to approve.
Yes.
Anybody have any other questions?
And so we open the hearing, close the hearing, and then we'll vote on the amendment, so then we can get it to the state by the 30th.
Okay.
I guess are we getting any closer to knowing what our bottom line is?
Cindy that was helping us had 2 weeks that she couldn't work, because she had a graduation and her family has been there for 2 weeks, so she's back at it starting Thursday.
So pretty quick.
I don't know, it's messed up.
I get it.
Who's doing
Cindy, she's the retired city clerk from Marshalltown. She's never seen anything like it in 40 years. And she would have never guessed that she would not be done by now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just super complicated.
Thanks.
Is that an hourly rate?
But there's no one qualified right now to do it and no one has any good capacity, so.
Yeah.
He's definitely training the staff, as we go as well, but it's just cleaning it up, so.
Right, number 19 is discussion on Independence Day fireworks beginning Saturday, July 5th instead of the 4th.
So there is no shoot team for the 4th anywhere in the state that we can get. Cristobal usually does it. He's willing to do it on the 5th, which if the 5th was on a weekday, we would obviously not subscribe to doing it on the 5th, but since it's a Saturday, is anybody opposed?
Yeah, well, why can't we get on Friday? Did you say there's nobody available?
There's no one to shoot
They're
it.
all booked up.
There's just no one that can come. Chris can't put his team together and J&M,
Are pulled too many other places up here.
I think Saturdays are fine.
Yeah, I think it's great.
it's still a weekend, so you know, it means maybe we get some different people that would come.
Yeah, I think that's great.
We just have to make sure the word gets out.
We have enough fireworks all over town.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of other shows to watch.
Okay,
So we're
number
gonna book it that
20,
day.
discussion on the Brownfield Assessment Grant Award.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I looked back because I was curious with how long this took, because I knew Frank Ularic was with Terracon, and he's the one that I've been working with on the idea and the concept of trying to decide whether we could do it. That was clear back in February of last year of 24, and then we brought it before the council. Well, we started talking with him to get the proposal in April. May is when I think we approved to move forward on the application, and then we were shooting to have it done by September, but we didn't get it done until November 7th is when it got actually
Is
submitted.
that who was at meeting in Oakland?
Yeah.
Was that-
Yeah, you met Frank there. Yeah, that's right. So we had a Brownfields training in Oakland and Sharon and Joey and some others
Yeah, we had
attended that.
3 or 4.
Yeah, so. Yeah, so it is gonna be a lot of work and it's gonna be very quick. What it'll do is give us 13, I think it's 13 phase 1s and 6 phase 2s. And it is kind of the precursor to then being able to apply for bigger dollars, like over $1 million+ for then cleanup and
Well,
redevelopment
it's one of
grants.
those things where you have to have everything in place before you can apply, because that delays it a year or two, it's just like anything. It's just like the Lakin project, if you aren't ready
If you're not ready.
to run,
Yep.
you don't get it.
But this will be pretty impactful. The most of the sites that we identified were on Broadway. So it'll be nice to actually get those all done.
Just a result of that tour we did with those two gentlemen,
No.
Parsons, no.
Not really.
Do it.
No, it had more to do with the thing that we went to in Oakland. And Frank, well, I mean, we've been talking about doing a cleanup assessment with, remember Kansas State tab and all that for quite some while. It's just, it's hard to put the stuff together. That's why them doing, Terracon doing the application was so much more helpful, because they were able to help us narrow in on what the concept of what we were trying to
Can
do
you
would
send
be.
us a copy of the grant application? So we know what we're looking
I
at.
think we approved it in the packet when we submitted it, didn't we?
I could have
November.
been, I just don't.
We can-
remember.
It's been so long ago. We can
I
send
just
it.
got a copy of it.
Yep,
from them.
yep.
We do have to really think though, long and hard about all these sites, because once we do studies and we don't own it, like you don't get grant money when the city doesn't own it.
Yes.
And so, and then you put exposure on people who own it privately. So we have to think long and hard, like the money's great, but there's
I think we
consequences.
got
to
letters from 2 of them that went in the application.
it. Right, but still.
Yeah.
Like, once you say it's contaminated
Oh, yeah,
and we don't own it,
yes.
and do we wanna take over all these parcels? So we have to be careful in having that conversation with Mel from the DNR this morning, that it's a lot of money, but there's a lot of consequences to digging up what you find, so.
I guess I'm not following you.
If somebody else owns it and we discover on their behalf that it's contaminated,
Then
then
enter, of course.
you don't get grant money for privately owned parcels.
Yes.
So you have like the assessment process, and then when you go for cleanup money, the city gets the money to clean it up. So we only get money for where we own. So if you wanna clean it up, once you learn about it, like, we also have to think about what we're gonna take over. So like, your goal would be to take it over, to own it, to then resell it and do something good with it, but that all costs a lot of money.
And was in the application, those properties were, you didn't have any, particular properties?
Couple of them were
Couple of
identified,
them.
Yeah.
Were those privately owned or city owned?
privately.
So that
They're all
means-
private, right?
I think most of them were private. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that it's really not our obligation to go in there and do
So we
that?
just have to make sure that we are very clear with these people
Yeah.
now that we have the money. Like, I have to better understand all the consequences.
So we basically have to take ownership before we can do anything.
If that's what we want to do,
Mhm.
but that means we're spending a lot of money.
I
So,
get it, I get it.
you know, have to look at all that.
Those kind of remember, I don't know if you remember way back when we had to clean up the landfill that was close in town. Oh, I remember that. That
That's a
was mess
super
down
fun,
there.
yeah.
Talking about off a G.
Are you talking
No, I
about
mean,
the,
it was in town.
yeah, you're talking about where the current city street department is?
Yeah.
Yes, which, that's why we
Yeah,
couldn't
it
add
was
on
even
to the
down
street
off where the
department.
where the greenhouse is. The original greenhouse. There was a landfill down there when I was growing up.
No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mess.
yeah, it will not fly today that you just dump dirt over top of.
Uh-huh.
It won't work. You don't get to do that anymore. Okay. There's just a whole bunch of, there's like 4 webinars we gotta participate in, and
Can you notify us of those?
if you're interested
I
in
am.
sitting on them,
Well, just, yeah. it's like
participating in them, so you understand.
they're online.
Yes. Okay. Number 21 is discussion on the 2025 Mayor's Design Workshop. This is July 9th and 10th in Ames. You read the letter. Basically, last year was the first year and they identified 6 communities, 6 mayors to participate in this last year, and it was Atlantic, Council Bluffs, Cedar Falls, Fort Madison, Marshalltown, and Ottumwa. And we will be one of the next 6. And so what they will do is Iowa State University faculty, like their professional engineers, architects, design department, they will be coming to our community within the next couple weeks to take a tour and identify what they think is what we think and they think are our most challenging community issues. based around, I should say, it's based around,
Development opportunities, access to trails, waterways, short and long-term design initiatives to enhance the vitality of your community.
yeah, so I mean, I don't think we would be off kilter to talk about the flood zone stuff. I think we could probably get some help with something like that. Or any part of this grant could potentially be a part of it too, so we'll have to be thinking about it out loud. I talked with Omar Padilla from Iowa State the other day, and he had some good thoughts and ideas too. The goal is really to bring the resources of Iowa State University and the College of Design closer to us. Their faculty, staff, extension, and outreach specialists and alumni are eager to find ways to support us in our design challenges and collaborate with us is basically it. And there's only one of 6 spots. And then it's kind of creating a cohort around that whole watershed idea, so. Any questions on that further? I lost my agenda, there we go. Number 22, discussion on the mayor's roundtable event. Remember when we talked about doing a roundtable with folks from the school, the hospital, major employers, the county, some of our key development partners, and just go around the room and share, look at what our goals for the council are this year, where we are on those, giving updates. Have those entities, MCDC, the chamber, do the same thing so that we can kind of all know what each other's working on. I did confirm that we will be able to meet in the front entrance of Southwest Community College. They do have a coffee machine there, and I hear we're gonna get a ping pong. Well, maybe.
Is it a conference room?
It's the front part of the,
Vestibule.
yep, it's
Okay.
the front part, unless we have too many. If we have quite a few people show up, we can go to the back classroom.
We should maybe do RSVP or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm planning to put that out.
Is that only by invitation or is it to open to the public?
It's up to you guys. I was planning to send specifically to the people that we for sure want there.
Yeah. I think
And
if you get too many.
it could
I don't
be,
think it's meant to be for the public.
it's really meant to be for, you know.
Well, I think it's a good
key.
idea because we had a good turnout when we had it at the Wilson and we just did the Lincoln thing with, yeah. And I think we need to do more of that.
Well,
Because we all
my
are-
plan was quarterly, but
We all have our agendas and nobody ever gets together on the same agenda.
I think it's important that we kind of come
I
back
do.
together and kind of realize where we're all kind of doing things that are all complementary of each other, but it's how are we lining up in
I
the
agree.
process?
Not only should we do that with community leaders, but we should also do it with all our volunteer organizations as well. That would
be great.
that would
too.
be beneficial.
And maybe,
At least have the heads of the organizations get together and say, what can we do to make this better? Because I know a lot of the organizations are losing memberships.
when would be the best time of year to invite those leaders of like Rotary and those? Like, maybe this first one is more the development partners, but then the next one could be with the service organization.
Probably not until fall. Summer is a bad time for
Yeah.
everybody to get together, I
Yeah.
think, with the kids at home and.
But I didn't know when they like set their plans for what their projects are. Is it fiscal year?
It all varies by club.
Okay,
Changes from month to month.
yeah, okay,
Exactly.
but maybe that'll be the plan to do that this
But
way.
I think MCD should be involved in this, one of
Oh, yeah.
these, the first one that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. All right, so yeah, it'll be Friday, June 6th at one, I don't see it going more than 2 hours and then hopefully people can get away for that. I was gonna do noon, but I wasn't sure.
You sent an invitation for that, did you not? I think I put that on my calendar.
I'm not sure if Lisa sent one or not. I don't think so yet, but we'll have to announce it as
Yeah.
a public meeting in case all of you are there.
I'll be gone that weekend, but
Will you be there that day? Not that day.
no, I'll be on the road.
It's okay. All right. Anything else? Number 23, I just thought we should like bring these 3 things back up again. And I did not expect Lisa to like go and do anything extra. I just thought with the housing readiness assessment, while there's the housing committee with the chamber and they're working on the houses that are gonna be built on Bancroft and those things. I know that we still had plans to look at incentives and maybe rehab for some housing. So we still have a housing committee, technically, it still exists. Do we want to bring that committee back together and talk further on the next step for
Are you
housing?
talking rehab housing, new housing, or?
I'm talking rehab, well, I'm
Rehab,
talking
okay.
readdress our housing initiatives from the housing readiness
This might
assessment.
not be in the same ballpark, but I was talking to a gal this morning and she's a single mom. Has one daughter and she struggles. She has 2 or 3 jobs.
Mhm.
She got a notice from her insurance company that she had to paint her house by a certain day.
Mhm.
Otherwise her
insurance
insurance would be, so I don't, and she said that several insurance companies are starting that.
Insurance companies do it all the time. They come around and tell you, you gotta put a new roof on it, they're gonna cancel you.
So
Yeah.
painting is a big deal though in town, and we always, when we talked about having people that can't afford their painting, but I was wondering if there's any, and I was talking to Lisa about this, grants, or if there's anything that can help these type of people. They don't have the resources, the money.
Yeah.
Or the extra time when they work 2 jobs to paint their own house.
Yep.
So if you remember, one of our strategic planning goals was to, whether you wanna have this same committee, I don't know, that was all before my time, so I don't know who's on that committee or if they're still interested in staying on, but you could either use that same committee or we talked about having a committee. There is somewhere around $80,000 in TIF, low to moderate income money in the budget that has never been spent and needs to be
Really?
spent. in low income.
See, so there we go.
But again, you have to have a process that they have to
Have a process.
qualify.
So what
some-
do we, how do we access that and what do we have to apply for it?
Well, again, I would think you wanna get some sort of a committee together to say
Like a
how we
plan.
spend this money.
So that money is set aside, when we
Part
spend
of the-
money, sometimes we're required to set money aside for low income housing. And that's the low income set aside, and that's what that's from, and we just never used it for anything.
Well, then we need to start a committee. I'm sorry, but I know a lot of people that can't afford to do any.
80,000 won't go
upgrades
very
to
far, but it'll help some,
I mean,
for
we
sure.
could spend 2 or 3,000 and I'm talking smaller homes, not the big 2-story homes. I'm talking about the bungalow homes that probably could be done for $2,000 or $3,000.
And it
There's
would
a
just be an
lot of them.
application. So, I mean, short of who else is gonna do it in partnership with economic development, I mean, I think the city's gotta push on it myself, so.
Could we do this since the library is part of the city, in conjunction with the tool program? It could be a low income committee to provide, a process for people to rehab their homes, but they have to apply for it. And it can be up to a certain amount. Should we talk to Kathy about that?
I would say
It needs
with
to,
Kathy,
but it's TIF money, so you've
It's-
got to get a committee together. It
Yep.
can't just be.
it's
through
gotta be a
Kathy.
committee, and I think Cynthia Bankston has brought up before, our Hearts and Hammers type program. I think there's people that would get on board with this, plus there's the subcommittees that came out of the rural readiness housing assessment that have the
Who's on this
action
committee
plans.
already? Who
This-
did this
There's
housing?
like
ready?
23 people on it. We need to go back and look
That's
at
probably
it.
Go back and look.
That, I'm talking a small committee of maybe 5 people.
It needs to be
That
like,
could really be aggressive
I agree,
and get it done.
I agree.
And
I
so
will
as far as
say
the-
though, it's easier said than done to get people to apply for these things because we have lead abatement.
Yeah.
And SWIFTCO has $1 million left and they
And they
can't
can't get rid of
anybody to
it.
apply.
But I do think if we had an intentional plan and if we could be promoting it, I think we would do better.
I do too. I think if we just made a flyer and say, apply for this, people just have to know what's available.
And if we told the
They
bankers,
don't look at
when they're,
Facebook, they don't look at.
if we told the
news.
bankers and the realtors as they're showing houses
Mhm.
that these programs exist, I can't imagine that we couldn't help plant seeds that.
Well,
there's-
anyway, it just broke my heart when she says, I don't have the money, she's working 2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay,
So that was my thought. So maybe we
Good
should look
idea.
at, maybe Lisa and I can look at that list and we can break it down and,
There's also a single family
yes, grant.
housing program through the USDA
Yes.
that again, like it's finding the right people, but it talks about it's not a lot of money. You can only get a grant if you're over 62 years old. You have to be considered very low income.
Yes.
Every county has, well, no, there's
Yeah.
loans and grants. So to get grant money that you don't have to pay back, you have to be 62. Loans can be used to repair, improve, or modernize homes or remove health or safety hazards. If it's a loan, you can get up to 40,000. If it's a grant, it's 10,000. And you can combine the two if you're over the age. There's a 20-year limit and it's a 1% interest rate.
1%.
Um,
Chris Hughes sent this out via text and asked a whole bunch of people.
But if
who could
we
come help
access
help
the
it.
TIP money, we would just give that, and that would be
It
granted.
could be a portion
well,
of,
but again, my personal opinion is you want the money to go further and you want people to have skin in the game.
exactly.
So that's the point of this committee, to be able to say, all right, if you can say there's a max amount and you could maybe say you have to pay 25% of it if you qualify in this chunk of, we'll call it very low. And then if you're low, you have to pay 50%. But if you have no skin in the game,
Yeah.
it's not usually a good idea. So you would want to talk through these things of like, how would you
So-
qualify? Typically you'd get like a bank who has to do like community service to say, all right, the bank is gonna be the one that's gonna qualify people. So we're not bringing in income. You could say like, hey, banker, just like you volunteer to be the finance person on the chamber board, are you willing to serve on this committee? And that people would go to that bank and say, you have to show your last tax return. And we'd have to set what those parameters are for Montgomery County. Very low equals this many people, like, it was, I think on this program that I just read, it was say like $46,000 is what you could make. For up to like a family of 4, and then it got slightly higher for like 5 to 8 people in your family or something like that.
Because
So we'd have to
that's
set
like-
those.
So you can, would you approach the housing committee then to see if they?
I guess we need to see like who was on it, and
Joey was the chair.
again, we can't have 23 people.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
it needs to be a smaller group for
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
But I just thought it was important to bring that back up. Downtown assessment, we've not had a chance to go forward. What do you think our next steps are with that, Lisa?
Somebody else is gonna have to do it.
Yeah,
I
or
can't-
just
I cannot take anything else
Just
on right now
Well,
because
I had mentioned before, I
this
think too,
grant's
that
like-
I'd be very interested in maybe leading something on that.
Oh, good.
to bring a group together, like one of the things, like some immediate impact things that are, again, are not a huge deal, but we have some money. Is there a storm going on right now?
Well, we have,
Yeah.
they don't want.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
there is.
There was something,
Is
you
there
could
actually-
be here.
Yeah.
Who's watching the weather?
It says heavy rain getting ready.
Like one of the things that they talked about was like do we want a different signage downtown? So that was like small, like you could do little wins. We're not, doesn't mean we can't do anything, but taking on ginormous projects, but
Changing the one-way streets, can we do that?
do whatever you want.
I hate those one-way streets.
I love my ones.
Right, but you get the point, is if we don't bring it back.
I know, and again, it's one of those things, I also don't wanna see it just sit on the
Just to-
shelf,
yeah,
so
just- I
I'm
wanna
I'm
make
very
sure
interested
we
in
keep-
that assessment.
Going,
Okay.
okay, yep, okay, perfect, and we definitely don't wanna bog Lisa too down, first.
I don't mean it in a bad way, but
No,
like
no.
this grant is like
That's
a whole blip on the radar that it's not.
That's a bigger thing.
I feel like something like the downtown assessment isn't something that needs your undivided attention.
Right, you guys can bring me stuff and I can help you with policies once you kind of decide stuff and.
Yeah.
Can we include, dilapidated buildings that are not being taken care of?
That's part of that
It's all part of
downtown.
the assessment.
In fact, I have all the documents for a vacant building registry, so it's ready to go.
Does that
Just gotta
include
do it.
buildings that are not part of our downtown area?
Yes. So, anyway, all right, cool. So we'll bring back the housing committee. Tim, you're gonna talk maybe a little bit more about downtown assessment. Comp plan, it's
We're
gonna.
working on a citywide cleanup, that's what we're doing.
That's you.
Right,
That's right.
And we vetted the weekly cleanup and you're not doing that right now, in case you didn't hear.
yes. But you're reaching out to JEO about the floodplain
Yeah, so
thing.
I'm gonna get a price, like, some of the grant money that was available prior to this administration, there isn't, but I still think that we need to. I had budgeted in the budget for next year, like 75,000 to engage the engineers to like get everything freshened up so that whatever we decide we can do.
Yeah.
Is what we need to do, so I think that would be, what can we do this fiscal year coming up to continue to work towards floodplain stuff is to re-engage them.
The other thing I meant to add on here is our recodification and what we need to do to get back on that, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot. The last
Yeah.
chapter the last chapter that I got from them was mostly, Justin working on it, and so he drove around and like double checked all these things. There's a couple of traffic things that we wanna bring you, and then we can get on to the next
It's
one.
kind of part of the comp plan, that anyway, so. Alrighty, anything else on those three items? Okay, moving on. 24 is resolution 2025-59, use of, I love this, I'm really glad we're doing this. Use of the door hanger notices for grass and weed nuisance violations, because honestly, by the time you get a letter sent out, 2 letters sent out, it was ridiculous. People would either have mowed or it just took so long. So this is a much better policy.
It's much better, and a lot of cities do this,
Yeah.
and they slap them on the door, actually, but I like the door hanger thing.
Yep,
No, I mean, I've driven around town, and I think.
I've been doing that too.
You know, it's hit and miss with houses that have overgrown lawns, and a lot of those are abandoned houses too.
I called a realtor, there's one on my route up and down the 2 streets that I drive on, 3rd and 4th streets, come from City Hall to home.
Look at
And
that
I called her, it was, I think, Joy and 4th, and I just was like, hey, I don't know what's going on here, but it's about to need a tractor for a farm field. And by the end of the day, it was fixed, so sometimes it's just.
Just a phone call.
Phone call. Well, obviously, it's easy when there's a realtor sign that you can just call.
Yes, because those.
She's like, oh, they said they had someone, I'm like, well, clearly they're not here because
Yeah.
it's now a farm.
All right, so the resolution, I just need a motion to approve the resolution.
So Bree basically said, like, in that ordinance, it talks about that you either notify them with an ordinance, which is super weird wording to me, like, I'm like, what does that even mean? But it also talks about certified mail, it says, or certified mail. So this would be like, we'll just make sure that in the code, it says ordinance. Like the notice will say the ordinance, we bought these like plastic hanger bags, so for now, until we actually order door hangers, we'll just use that as a means, and then obviously we have the issue of trying to,
I know,
I'm distracted.
I know,
I don't.
tornado
I texted-
watch, we're in a tornado watch.
Watch, we've been.
I texted
No,
her.
what you're getting at is that they get the hanger, and then
Yes.
after that, they get the letter.
They won't get a
They
letter,
don't get a letter, we just go straight to mowing it then.
yeah, and we'll have to see how
And
bad
then
it is. So
send-
the other option is we could, like some communities, if you're really trying to be aggressive, we'll hire a contractor. The other thing that I wanna do is, so Bree's gonna look at the ordinance. So she basically said we can do door hangers, and I wanted to get your blessing on this resolution to do door hangers. But I do wanna clean up the code a little bit, so she's gonna work on it with me, and I'll bring it back where it's clear that we do this short-term notifications for like short-term things that need to be fixed. If you have a junk vehicle, that's not gonna
Yeah, I was gonna say,
matter if it's a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then
can we
that's,
add the junk vehicles to it? The
No.
door hangers?
No.
We
No.
can't.
cause you have to go through the court to be able to ever get the door hangers and stuff.
Okay,
So-
let's keep rolling.
Yeah, I
just so we
texted
don't
chief
get,
and he's not texting back, so.
and so we
I'm
don't
gonna
end up in a
move
tornado.
to approve the resolution.
Okay, right on, and Bradley, roll call.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
right off.
Yes.
Number 25, I think we need to hold on, is that accurate?
Yeah, we're not doing that, just table
Yep.
that.
So just, we're going to skip
Table that.
25, table it. Number 26 is upcoming city council meeting is, the special meeting is next Tuesday, the 27th at 5:30 here. And then the next regular meeting is June 2nd at 5:30 here. Reports, city administrator report.
The pool opens on Friday. We have new software, so if anybody gets pool passes, we need to make sure that people know they need to get online to register. You put in all the names, all the birth dates, pictures of everybody. And it's gonna clog up the line at the pool if people don't try to do that ahead of time. So we started advertising on Friday for that. And then people can call in and pay. Utility bills, we're obviously working on, like, we definitely got some attention of people who received some of those delinquent bills. I've had lots of conversations with people. If anybody asks, there's been some posts on Facebook asking what the statute of limitations is. There is no statute of limitations. You owe it forever. You know, you don't get to say like, well, I snuck out of paying for the last 5 years, so now I don't have to pay. It doesn't matter how long ago you owed it.
Yeah.
So we've had some questions about that. So we're gonna send the liens, the final ones. There's probably, I'd say 60 to 70 of the letters that we sent out got paid, so there's probably 30 to 40 left.
That's
All
pretty
those
good.
letters.
That's very good.
So
That's
we'll
very good.
be able to follow up on that.
Anything, any of those substantial?
There was a guy that I talked to yesterday that owes us 1,000, said he was gonna pay. So, yeah,
I noticed some out there like 6,000.
I think 3 is a high one, not 6.
Okay.
So,
That's
you know,
excellent.
we'll see what happens. It's not the easiest way to get the money. Hopefully they don't let their taxes go delinquent because of it, but
Mhm.
we'll see. And then on top of, the National Guard here going overseas, Ethan Stewart, our police officer, is also been called up for duty. He's out of the Carroll office, so if you, at the Carroll Armory, so if you look at the invitation, that's on Facebook that talks about the 4 places where you can go. One of them, it's exact same time here, so we're talking about sending some sort of representation from the city. So employers usually get invited. So we'll go up there to say our farewells to him. He's on vacation now. We met with him just to go over what his world will be like for the next most likely 14 months he'll be gone. So we're gonna try to do as much as we can, filling in with part-time officers if they're available. And then we've made some shift adjustments so people are on different shifts. We'll also have a paternity leave here this summer, some amount of weeks, so we're gonna be short-staffed. But the guys are adjusting. Justin put a different schedule together, so.
Okay.
So we wish him the best and made sure that we let him know that if his family needs anything while he's gone, that they can reach out.
That's
And
excellent.
so the chief's comfortable, he can be able to handle it without putting somebody else on.
Not anybody full-time. There isn't anybody anywhere.
Do we have any more reserves that could?
I mean, anybody that can will,
Yeah.
mostly just adjusting the ship.
Okay.
So obviously nobody's gonna take a job knowing that it's only for a year. There's some retired people that may be willing to fill in.
You'll probably be paying some more.
And that's not the goal. The goal is to shift, like, you know, so having, once in a while, having 3 on, then it'll always be 2.
So, yeah.
I think that's all I have.
All right. I just want to comment that you guys have been working super, super hard on this whole software rollover. And I think a lot of people don't understand how much work that has been. That has been a tremendous amount of time. It's all the different processes you've all been working through. And I just want you to know that we appreciate the extra time you're all putting in and all the extra you're having to learn. And hopefully it will end up being more efficient in the long run and better. It seems like the software just so much better. So hopefully, and we're getting all of these things that have been wrong, we've been getting them fixed. And so that takes a ton of time and effort, Lisa, and all of you. So I just want you to know how much we did. I did do a thing trying to make it faster. I just wanted to point out that the legislature, thank goodness, they did go ahead and close session on Thursday, the 15th. They did not at this point pass the property tax legislation that was proposed. And so we're fortunate about that. The league is going to be working with the county assessors to secure the parcel level data so that they can figure out, we can work on models for all of the different types of communities, different sizes. I do want to point out though, that the TIF overhaul was approved by the Senate. And it is something that the league is completely opposed to. What it does is, it is not positive for the use of TIF moving forward. And so the league is encouraging all of our cities to share our TIF success stories with our lawmakers so that we can let them know the value of this tool for us with development. It does change the urban renewal area, assess property value amounts, as well as the revenue total increment. So that's a pretty big deal. I listed out a number of events coming up, just kind of reminder to everybody to please join at the grand opening if you have a ticket. The country club tomorrow at 5:30. Reminder that Alvin Hayes Days.
And we sold out, there's 97 tickets.
97?
I could have sold about 20 more, I think, but.
Wow, you sold out. So you're sold out. Okay, so if you didn't get a ticket, too bad.
You can still come out and have a drink.
There you go. Come out and have a drink. Special send off to the armory troop. Again, if anybody wants to join in Red Oak, I will be there. Senator Ernst will be there. I think Lisa's planning on going up to Ethan, and I wish I could go both places. I just can't. I have an RPA 13 meeting. The roundtable, I call it a leadership alliance forum or something like that. We'll come up with something else. Also, I just want to encourage everybody to get out and consider doing the cemetery walk this year. The Questers put a ton of time and effort into that,
This is
and all
our
of the
third annual, yeah.
actors. And I think it's very interesting. And it's just a great way to learn more about famous people in our community. So past people in our community. And then Junction Day is coming up. The Iowa Housing Conference is coming up in Cedar Rapids in September. And the League of Cities Conference is coming up, and then the Downtown Conference. And I think we have to send some people to that because of the assessment that we did. So I think we
just
don't.
can.
Oh, we just can't. Okay. I just said, keep your eye on the townhomes. They're gonna be going up here slowly over time,
If
quickly.
anybody's interested, I do have a number of someone that, if you know, people that want details, there's just a number to call. Their website's not ready yet. I'm sharing it as I'm just kidding.
Is FMTC still doing the special on fiber? 6 months free if you sign up for fiber?
No, they were, but I don't know.
I don't know if they are still, but you might call if you're interested. And I think we're seeing a lot of progress. This grant will be the beginning of some contaminated sites getting cleaned up. And I just wanted to thank everybody who selflessly puts in and does things for our community, because there's just a lot of people that are contributing a great deal. And I can't acknowledge every single person, but if you're out there, we just want to thank you for all the time that you put into our community. So, City Council. Sharon, do you want to start?
Oh, sure. Well, of course, we've been working at the country club, getting it ready. We're all ready for tomorrow night, so we're pretty proud of that. Planted flowers this morning, and so that's all done. The cemetery walk, we're, well into that. We've been meeting every week on that, and just like, you know, my nephew is one of the National Guard kids that are going. So,
Out of Red Oak.
and he just got married and they're having a baby, so he'll be gone for a year.
Oh.
So that's too bad. Anyway, I also like to say congratulations to the Red Oak track team. I know Hayden was part of that track team, and so kudos for Red Oak.
Congrats. Excellent. Okay. Brian.
So I have an announcement after I get done with mine. So I helped Bill Dre and some FFA students plant parks,
And they look very nice.
flowers in the park.
Very nice.
Helped with the hospital appreciation luncheon. Of course, I attended the county supervisors meeting. Attended the leadership Red Oak graduation. And of course, also our special meeting that we did in between now and our last council meeting. That's all I've done, but I would also like to just invite everybody to attend our Memorial Day service on Monday if we have the weather outside. If not, it'll be inside the school gym. We're also accepting any and all volunteers to help put the flags up at 6 a.m.
Who's the speaker this year?
Well, we have Captain Hall from the deploying unit out here is gonna be our guest speaker.
Captain Hull,
Captain Hall,
Tanner Hull.
yes.
Yes, excellent.
Anyway,
That's what day? It's the 30th, right? Friday the 30th?
no, it's Monday.
I mean, Friday the,
Memorial Day.
Monday, Memorial Day.
I'm sorry.
It's coming
What was I
Monday,
thinking?
Memorial Day.
Yes. I've got it on my
Yeah.
desk, sorry.
Anyway, we're putting up flags at 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
and all volunteers are welcome. And even more so, we take them down at 4 in the afternoon, and that's even harder to get volunteers to pull them down. So, you know, I encourage anybody, if you have the time in the morning or in the afternoon, please come help us. I'm counting on you to bring your trailer and pull a flag wagon. I'm counting on you to show up, pick up and pull a pole wagon.
There'll be over 1,600 flags this time.
1,600, well, we have 1,610 already, and we're dedicating another 16, I think.
Oh, my God.
So it's up to like 1,620 something.
26?
Yeah,
Okay. Is that the
so that's all I have.
Is that the announcement?
That's the announcement.
Okay. All right. Tim.
I did I attended, in your stead, the Leadership Red Oak graduation, so that was very nice.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Did you do anything else at your house?
Well, my house, yes, but no city business.
So we also have got to congratulate Tim and his family for the new addition.
Yeah,
I actually haven't heard her name yet.
Eloise,
Eloise.
She's
It's official.
beautiful.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
You actually look pretty good.
8 pounds.
You don't,
Yeah, 8 pounds, yeah.
you don't look like.
Shells in her cheeks.
Oh, okay.
You're doing good. He's sleeping, his cake.
I'm okay.
That's big news.
He's
Big
in charge
news.
of the big kids.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, John. Okay,
help with the planters downtown. After the kids got done planting, went back through, made sure they're secure and, watched a lot of track.
Okay.
I did forget that, I applied for those 3 demo grants and we were awarded all 3 of them.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So we'll get up to half of that paid for, with the top priority being the about to tumble over 305 East Market. So we'll do that one first, and then whatever's left will be, property on Knuckles, and then the one that we just acquired as well at the corner of Second and not Elm, maybe Valley, I can't remember. Prospect, one of those. two.
35 more to go.
Good deal.
I do
Well,
so many, I
that's-
applied for those 3.
Yeah, we will almost have taken down 20 by the end of this year, you guys. That's pretty impressive
That's good.
in the past 3 years.
That's
And
good.
the lots will be for sale.
That's
Some of them.
on my list of 700 things to do, yes.
That's pretty good.
Get a list together and get them advertised.
Alrighty. With that, now any discussion for upcoming items?
I'm sure I can make them.
I'm sure we'll get there.
Without your help.
Yep, okay. All right, so then we're gonna be going into a closed session, so you gentlemen can.
Have to,
Somebody needs to read the
Yeah.
entire.
I would make a motion to go into closed session.
You need to
Okay.
read, someone needs
Let
to
me
read
read it.
all of this out.
Sorry.
So I need to adjourn into a closed session pursuant of 21.51C to discuss
And we're not-
strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where it's disclosed would be like, where if disclosed would be likely to be prejudiced or disadvantaged the position of the governmental body in that litigation.
We'll say we need to roll call. I think we're going to that.
Residential nuisance abatement is this first one, and then also 21.51I to eliminate or to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation and that individual's request a closed session, and this is administration, so I
So-
need a motion,
My motion stands to go into closed session.
and that would be Tim,
Whoa.
7:36.
Do you have a tornado here?
No.
Seven,
So
Just wind and.
7:36, we go in, need a roll call.
It just
Bradley,
wasn't latched.
here, Bills,
Yes.
right off,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Heat Brink.
Yes.
So we're gonna shut this off in 2 minutes and I gotta get Bree on the regular.
Okay.